If you've been thinking about buying a home in Ottawa this year, it may be worth stopping to think. Prices are down. The federal government just sent layoff notices to over 24,000 public servants, and there's a trade war that economists say could tip us into a recession. Ottawa's average home price in January came in around 641,000, down 4% from last year. Condos got absolutely crushed, down 12%. There are more homes sitting on the market than we have seen in years. On the surface, this market looks like it's still falling. And if you're watching from the sidelines thinking, I'll just wait for it to drop more, I absolutely get that instinct. But here's where it gets a little bit more complicated. The real reason to be cautious about buying in Ottawa right now isn't the home prices, it's actually job security. Over 24,000 public servants have received workforce adjustment notices just in the last 2 months. More than 8,000 positions are confirmed to be cut across 30 plus departments in the government, and the government is targeting another 40,000 positions to be gone by 2029. In a city where the federal government is a big part of the backbone of the economy, that's not just background noise, that's a direct hit to the economy. I sat down a couple of weeks ago with a couple of friends, both federal employees. One of them had just gotten their letter. They were pre-approved, ready to go, had their eyes on a place in Canada, and we had an honest conversation about whether or not it was the right time for them. And it's not just clients I've been having this conversation with, just people in my social life, people in my family who are government workers are in a place where there's a lot of insecurity and a lot of uncertainty. So these particular people decided to wait not because the market was bad, but because their personal financial picture just wasn't settled. If you're in that situation, buying a home right now might not be the right move. On top of those local job cuts, there's also a national trade war going on. It's already dragged the Canadian economy down, and the upcoming CUSMA review this summer could make things worse or it could stabilize them. That uncertainty is part of the problem. For Ottawa, the real impact is in the confidence. People are cautious. Buyers who would normally be out shopping this time of year are sitting on the sidelines, quietly hoping for more clarity. And that's keeping the market relatively soft. Now, a lot of those same people are waiting for rates to drop further. Here's the problem with that though. The Bank of Canada just held rates at 2.25%, and markets expect them to stay roughly there throughout 2026. This might be the rate environment for a while. It's not looking like it's likely to change. But here's what most people miss. 2.25% for a Bank of Canada rate is actually very reasonable by historical standards. It's unlikely that the rates are going to go up sharply. The people who got really burned in the last few years are those that bought at those rock bottom pandemic rates at high home prices and couldn't handle the jump 3 or 5 years later once rates had shot up. If you're qualifying today, you're qualifying at a rate that already accounts for some of that upside risk. As far as deciding whether or not you should buy or you should wait for your specific situation, this is the part where I'm going to try to be honest with you, because the answer depends entirely on which side of a few specific lines that you fall on. If you just got a workforce adjustment notice, don't layer a $600,000 mortgage on top of that uncertainty. Wait until your employment picture is clear. But if your job is secure and you're buying a home in a good neighborhood like Barrhaven, Canada, or Orleans, and you plan to stay for at least 5 years, this market is actually working in your favor in many ways. Sellers are accepting offers with full conditions again. You can get the inspection done, you can negotiate on the price, and that simply didn't exist a few years ago. Now, if you're somebody who's buying a condo, either as an investor or an owner, hoping for quick appreciation, condo prices are down 12% and inventory is still piling up. So that's not a section of the market I would recommend speculating in. Prices have come down a lot, but there's every indication that they're going to continue to fall further. But if you're somebody who's buying or renting in Ottawa at $2,100 a month and you're financially ready, every month you wait is money that's going to somebody else's mortgage. It also depends a lot on whether or not the lifestyle makes sense. If you're in a place where you're looking to expand your family or have a little more space because, you have a dog who deserves a backyard or something like that, in many situations, the math says that now is not a bad time to buy. I will say though, that's not the case if you are stretching to your absolute max of what you're pre-approved for because you feel pressure to get in. I would pump the brakes if you're in that situation. A balanced market with more inventory, which is exactly the market we're in right now, means there's a lot less urgency, and buyers are understanding that. Don't overpay because you're anxious, but if you've got the down payment, a real emergency fund, and a stable income, you're walking into a market with much more choice, much more leverage and negotiating power, and a lot less competition than we have seen in years. So the bottom line, should you buy a home in Ottawa in 2026? The truth is it really depends on your situation, not on the market, not on the headlines, not on what some forecast says, not what I say. It's your situation. The best time to buy is when you're ready and it makes sense for your life, not when the market signals are doing a certain thing. If you want to talk through whether or not that makes sense for you, my info is in the description. I also do monthly updates breaking down what Ottawa's market numbers look like. Thanks so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day and take care.